Welcome to the League of Women Voters and Ripon College Center for Politics and the People Candidate Forum. County Executive candidates Alan Biekel and Rick Gedimer have joined us this evening. Welcome. Both candidates were invited to participate, and we are delighted to have them both here tonight. These are, again, challenging circumstances because of COVID. This forum has become more usual for us. It's our third forum, I believe, third or fourth, in which there is no live audience in the chambers. Questions were solicited beforehand via print and social media, and thank you to everyone who submitted questions. We have some very fine questions. The questions have been screened by League members to ensure that they may be answered by both candidates. We do not accept questions that target one candidate. Before we begin the program, I want to encourage everyone to be available on the League of Women Voters of the Ripon area Facebook page. The link will be shown during the live viewing as well as the taped replay. The site is tied to the Division of Motor Vehicles, and as such, you may use your driver's license or state registered ID or state issued ID to register as a voter as a means of photo identification for the absentee ballot. As the League of Women Voters begins its second century, we find ourselves adapting to the same social and medical challenges that we all face. We are running tonight with a skeleton crew, and we thank Riley I. Snoggle and his team for their dedication to bring you this information. This forum, while live, is being taped and will be replayed on the Ripon Cable YouTube channel as well as the League Facebook and website. Ripon College is also live streaming on their FaceTime link. The candidates have drawn for position and will present in the order drawn. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks, up to 2 minutes to answer each question, and closing remarks will be limited to 1 minute. The lead will change following opening remarks through closing remarks. We will begin with Alan Biekel, who won the draw. Alan, would you please give us your 2-minute introduction?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and I want to thank the Ripon League of Women Voters and Ripon College for sponsoring this particular event. It's very important that people know what candidates stand for and what they plan to do for the future, so I'm very pleased to be here tonight. Just a little bit about myself. I've been county executive now for 28 years. I am completing my 7th term. I'm running for my 8th. Prior to that, I was on the county board for 17 years, so I've had quite a bit of elected service to the county, and prior to that, I was in retail management, and so I also have a business background. But since I've taken office, we've been able to accomplish a lot in the county. One, we started with some innovative programs that Governor Thompson had proposed. One was called Work Not Welfare, where we decided to sponsor a welfare to work program. And we were able to move about 1,100 people from welfare into jobs. Like today, the jobs are available, and the state provided child care dollars so we could do that. We also were the first county in the state to launch family care for the elderly and disabled. That program is still going very well in the state and has expanded to all counties at this point. And also, since I've been in office, we've consolidated dispatch. In fact, the city council just agreed to come to Fond du Lac Center, which will occur probably around the 1st of July. And so then we'll be serving all the people of the county since Ripon is coming in. So with that, I have many more things I could talk about, but at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to the other gentleman.
Thank you, Alan. The challenger, Rick Gedimer. Rick, 2 minutes.
Hello, Fond du Lac County. Thank you for the League of Women Voters for having me tonight, as well as Ripon College. I appreciate that. First plug I want to put in to all the students at Ripon College, please get involved in local politics. Change and leadership is about taking chances and stepping outside your comfort zone. So I want to put that out there for everyone. First, a little bit about me. I'm a Christian. I'm married to my lovely wife, Julie. I have 3 adult children, Jenny, Caleb, and Joseph. Why am I running? I love people and I've dedicated my life to serving others personally and professionally. I believe in a better government, a government like businesses, have to provide quality services and continue to improve. Better, better, better. I want to create a vision 2035 when government is going to be vastly different because we need to change. In 2035, 35% of the people in Fond du Lac County, as well as many of the counties in the state of Wisconsin, are going to be over the age of 65 years old. Politicians at the local level, state level, and federal level need to start talking about that. I want to be a government that has to change and must change. I believe we can provide better services by combining the Department of Community Programs, the Department of Social Services, and the County Health Department under a human service umbrella, and I want to be part of that discussion. I also believe the Aging and Disability Resource Center, which was an extension of family care under one of the initiatives the other candidate mentioned, I was the primary author on the pilot project that got awarded one of the 7 original pilots. I want to continue the work in that area, and I want to combine the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Fond du Lac County with the Senior Services Department. I want to be a part of that discussion. I also want to look at government in different ways with other locations, the cities, the villages, and the towns of Fond du Lac County. We need to get lean, very quick. 14
Thank you,
years.
Rick.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, you're going to take the first question because we're going to rotate the lead.
Oh,
Okay? So again, to both candidates, if you need me to repeat the question, I'm more than happy to do that. The population in Fond du Lac County is changing. The largest minority population is now Hispanic. There is also an increasing African American population. What will you do to make the racial makeup of the county employees more closely match the makeup of the population?
One of the things that I would work with is our HR department. Are we reaching out to locations, colleges, universities, municipalities? Are we using the right websites to be able to connect with minority populations? You know, in the old days, back when I was originally hired in 1993 to the county, basically the newspaper was the way to convey a job. I applied to the job through the newspaper. Now there's many different search engines in the World Wide Web. How do we reach out to different minority populations? I think that there's a site that caters strictly to folks of color. I want to say it's Ebony, that connects, and it's their job platform. So there's a lot of different data out there from search engines. And so the question is, what search engines would give us the greatest penetration into those minority populations, the Hispanic populations? That's the important thing, is to implement the technology that already exists and to be able to blend the county so the county staff in time represents what the greater community. We need to do that. Fond du Lac County, I'm going to go back to the 2035 when 65% of the people are over the age of 65. Already we have CNA shortages. We have to, as a community, open our arms and welcome people into Fond du Lac County because of the aging demographics. And by doing that through reaching out to the minority populations and to the other populations, I think it's possible using technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan?
Well, I would agree that, we need to use more technology, which our HR department is doing. There's LinkedIn, there's Indeed, there are all different electronic media that you can recruit help from. But again, you need the people to apply. And I think part of the issue is, as a county, we need to do a better job of getting our workforce that, like department heads, better trained so that they are clearly better understand and more culturally competent in how to interact with people, with minorities. And we brought in a firm that's working with department heads right now to talk about our cultural competence and how we can do better. Because the issue is, if we can get people, minorities in, and if you're talking African Americans, they have to feel comfortable once they get into the workplace. And what we find overall in our experience in this community, in the county overall, is that you get African Americans to come in and they don't find themselves welcome, or integrated into the community, and so they tend to leave. They have a lot of opportunities, and one of them is they can't get their hair done. So these are things that you have to work on, but you need a larger population. Hispanics, many of them are just afraid to come to Fond du Lac County to apply. They're concerned about immigration. They're concerned about ICE. And so, just talking to the farm community out there, they hire a lot of Hispanics, and they say the families are just flat out scared. They won't come to Christmas events, even though they're all legal. They're still afraid that, immigration is going to get them. So, we have to also work on that. And, it's going to be an ongoing, continuous process.
Thank you. You, Alan, get the next lead. Yep. Some folks say that Fond du Lac County needs to expand its jail. Does Fond du Lac County still house people from other counties within the state? And does it generate revenue by doing so? Why do we need to do this? And do we need to expand our jail? If we are spending money on the jail, what are the plans for expanding restorative justice and keeping people out of jail?
Okay, expanding the jail really depends on the sentencing to court. One thing COVID did is change the way the judges sentence. Also, a lot more individuals are on bracelets, and so the population isn't growing to the level it had been. But that is only temporary, and we're going to have to talk about expanding the jail. Yes, we are bringing in juveniles in our jail, which is a good revenue source. We don't bring in other counties, but we do bring in state prisoners. They use us as a resource because we also are medically certified. And so, we do have revenue coming in. Our revenue last year was just under $1.3 million. So we can start refusing the prisoners from the state. That will give us more capacity for our own folks. But then it'll also, because the revenue's there, will decrease our cost. Restorative justice, this is something we need to work on. We are now going to be getting 3 new judges. We've already had 2 appointed, and 1 is going to be decided in a couple of weeks. And so we want to work with them. Some of the judges that were there, they weren't all that into that type of concept. It was more black and white to them and the way they've always done things. And so, we're going to have to look at that. We had drug court, and drug court was popular, but it hasn't gotten off the ground. And part of that is we can't get the judicial support. So I'm hoping these new judges will be much more involved in this type of thing and much more open to that. So yeah, restorative justice is, has to be our goal, but we also need the different elected judges and others to actually come on board with that.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
Restorative justice is a component that would probably be broken into pieces, and the truly dangerous people belong in a box. I don't know what the composition of the county jail is. As county executive, I would study that, and I would bring the judges together with the district attorney. I think we have to look at, I kind of use a metaphor of a road. A road, people sometimes go off onto the shoulder, and then there are people that go way off into the ditch and, potentially are being drunk. Truly dangerous people have gone way off into the woods. It comes to the prison population as who actually needs to be in jail? That's the question of restorative justice, and how could they restore or apologize, make amends to what they've done wrong. As far as the expansion of the jail, I'm a numbers guy. I'm going to look at the number, Fond du Lac County's folks in there, and then I'm going to look at those that come in. And the operation's a fixed cost operation, so adding additional prisoners isn't probably going to cost the county a whole lot more. But to expand, because bricks and mortar are very expensive, to expand a jail for potentially bringing others in, depending on your cost offset, is potentially not the way to go, or potentially you could turn it into, a revenue source. As far as the populations, we do have, the juvenile wing. We have juveniles served from other counties, and I actually was an individual that introduced the concept of housing juveniles in our jail to some of the other counties that I believe are using the jail years ago. I've always been a progressive person trying to support Fond du Lac County and to potentially use our resources in a different fashion as the Deputy Director of the Department of Social Services, as well as in my prior roles at the Department of Social Services. Thank you.
Thank you. And you will begin with the next question. How do you feel about increasing the minimum wage for county jobs? There are some jobs in the county government that currently pay less than $15 per hour. What will you do about this, and what minimum wage do you support?
Wage structure is huge for counties, especially since we're in COVID. A lot of counties have gone to work from home platforms. So the business model of government is going to be changing as a result of COVID in the future. And so whereas now, if you want to get a job in a different county, you got to drive to a different county. Whereas if they go to a business platform, potentially you could have a person working in Fond du Lac that's been trained by Fond du Lac and get a job from Eau Claire County, and they could telecommute into whatever the job is, depending on what the job is. So competitive wage structures needs to be studied by our Human Resource Department, and there's comments about comps, but there's also, those that are adjacent to us. And we need to provide a competitive wage at all levels in county jobs to be able to attract highly qualified staff members and retain them so we don't become, training grounds for other, definitely an area that needs to be analyzed as far as a minimum wage structure for county employees, a minimum wage structure for the general public. I don't have a number in mind to put out there. I'm going to be honest with the people. I don't have one. So
Okay.
Thank you for the question, Ellen.
Thank you. Alan?
Well, right now, we have some jobs that pay below 15. We just raised our CNAs again, so I think even starting wages now are over $15 an hour, which is what they were proposing on the national level. We do have seasonal help, and we just raised that rate to $11 minimum. But these are the college kids and others who come in, work the parks, the highway. So I don't think we can justify going up to $15 for them. So we also have other individuals like van drivers. These are retirement jobs, and up till now, we have not paid the van drivers that deliver food. They're earning about $11 an hour, and then some of those that have passengers are $13 an hour. So this is something we have been looking at as to whether we should raise that for these individuals in particular. I think the seasonal help at this point we're probably not going to look at. As far as picking a number, for Fond du Lac County to try to enforce a minimum wage, we don't have that ability under state statute. We could pick a number, but we're not going to get it passed and enforce it. Each municipality has to do those types of things separately in the state of Wisconsin. So it's like burn orders. If you allow people to burn, Fond du Lac County cannot do that. They cannot prohibit it. It has to be each municipality individually under state law. So this, minimum wage would be the same type of thing. So it's certainly something we want to look at, but, we are not having an issue on the lower paid jobs as far as recruiting. However, as we get it up in the pay plan much further, it gets to be much more competitive.
Okay. And you'll answer first on this next question. Fond du Lac County is either the only or one of a very few counties in Wisconsin that does not have a Health and Human Services Department. Do you have any plans to develop a Health and Human Services Department to fully integrate those services to the residents of Fond du Lac County?
We've been looking at that for as long as I've been in office, and the key is the acute psychiatric acute hospital, and that is part of human services. And because of that and the administration of the hospital, it is difficult to merge the organizations. But that is something we're definitely open to. If we have a change in personnel, which could occur, we'll definitely take another look at that. There's some things in the offing right now that we will be looking at as soon as those things occur, and we will be looking at some consolidation, not necessarily bringing in all the departments, like health in particular. I think at this point, health has done very well through COVID, and I would not integrate them into a human services program at this time. However, Department of Social Services, Department of Community Programs, if we can integrate the psychiatric acute unit into that without causing other issues, we will continue to look at that. But at this point, that hasn't fallen into place, but I've always been open to it.
Thank you. Rick?
Many of the public are served by multiple systems. As I stated in my open comments, that is one of the areas that I'm interested in. It's also my background is in social services. I believe that one management structure under the leadership of one individual can bring better, as I stated in my opening comments, better services to the public and to the groups served by that. I'd also go as far as to say I'd also be interested in evaluating performance-based measures for a base pay for directors that run the different departments, as well as additional bonus funds, you could call it, depending on how many children are maintained in the county or how many adults that are living on Title 19, that they're kept in the county. I think we need to put incentives in place because from my perspective, shipping any resident that was born and raised in Fond du Lac County to another county is not public policy that I would want to be a part of. So part of what I would build is a system that has services that provide the people and have incentives to keep folks locally. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with our current system. It operates like many systems do. I'm interested in making better government and progressing in a different way. So I am all about health and human services and combining the different departments. As far as the staff involved, I will meet with them as I've done in other programs where I've merged programs. I've helped merge our economic support programs from Walworth, Waukesha, Washington, Ozaukee, and Fond du Lac County together. And basically, it's you bring a whole lot of people together. In some meetings, you bring people together in individual meetings, and you have discussions. And that's what I'm all about, having discussions with the folks involved and bringing it back together under one management structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, you'll begin with the answer for this question. The League of Women Voters has long held positions on environmental issues, many environmental issues. Do you have a plan to promote and develop clean energy in Fond du Lac County? Do you feel that it is important to educate people about clean energy? And if so, how would you do this?
I believe it's a hugely important issue. I think that first off, I need to assess the situation. I need to listen to folks like the League of Women's Voters and other groups that are going to bring these issues to my desk. Green energy is the way of the future. We need to be better stewards of the planet. You know, when there's plastic bottles at the South Pole, that's just not right. Obviously, we're not adjacent to an ocean, but we're adjacent to a large lake, and many efforts have been done to clean that up. So as far as a specific plan, my plan on all areas is the same. You know, my life right now is a composition of my current career as well as the things I do in my free time. When I'm in the office of the county executive, first is to assess the situation, hear everybody's different ideas, and then determine and through budget and other means what we can do about it. What we should do about it, I look to statute and say, you know, is that a statutory area as the chief executive officer of Fond du Lac County? Is it an area I'm going to delve into? Is it an area that the people want to delve into? I believe it's a very important, and in terms of education, the more we can educate the public about keeping the environment clean, you know, our kids and grandchildren are going to inherit this place, and we want to leave it in a good stewardship role. So those are my comments, and thank you for the question, Ellen.
Thank you. Alan?
Yes, we've been doing a lot of improvements based on energy efficiency. In fact, we just replaced all the lights in the city-county government center to get much more energy efficiency out of those lights. Over the years, we've done HVAC systems, and we always put the most energy efficient equipment in that we can get, and because we understand that we will save dollars in doing so, and it's good for the environment. And so when we built the Camelsport garage, we actually put solar panels on the roof. That didn't work out that well, so when we built the new garage in Fond du Lac, we didn't do that. We had talked about doing a electric charging station for electric vehicles, but that didn't go anywhere. Part of it was the cost of installation, and also how do you maintain that when people use it. So it was kind of problematic. We do right next to our garage. It's an on-county project, property. They're building a solar farm, and so we encourage that. The driveway is coming from the highway garage, part of it. So we had looked at putting solar farms on our property. One is UW Fond du Lac, but it was just too much lowland in there, so that didn't work. But we were hoping to put up a significant amount of solar panels. We just couldn't get the amount of space that we needed to do it effectively and efficiently. But as a county, we want to continue to promote good energy philosophies and practices. But it's one step at a time. But we're moving that direction. We'll continue to move that direction.
Thank you. And we'll begin with you on this next question. It's a long one. The next two are long, so if you need me to repeat them, I will do so. Riggs County Park in Ripon is a beautiful area, but doesn't see a lot of users. Might there be another way to develop that land to make it a greater recreational asset for the western half of the county? In addition, we have many leaguers and residents of Fond du Lac County who appreciate natural areas throughout the county, such as Hobbs Woods. What are your plans to expand and preserve natural areas in Fond du Lac County?
Okay, as far as Riggs Park, we're open to different uses for that park as long as it's consistent with passive recreation. We're not looking at putting ball diamonds, those kinds of things. But as far as Fond du Lac County, we just purchased a 24-acre parcel on 151 North. And what it is a conservancy that is going to be preserving about 1,000 feet of ledge face. And we're looking to expand that beyond that. Hobbs Woods, we're looking to expand that another 20 acres. There is another parcel. We're waiting for a willing seller. So we also are putting a trail in, a hiking biking trail along Highway 23. That's total county cost. And they call it the Plank Trail. So that's recreation. We are looking at some property on the ledge by Lake Teneview. We're also looking at redirecting some of the water so we don't get all the silt down into Lake Teneview and ultimately going to Lake Winnebago. We're spending a lot of money on different conservation programs so that we can respect the land and save the land, because topsoil is our bread and butter when it comes to the agriculture community. So we're trying to do what we can to get farmers to come up with conservation practices, and so we do incentivize that. We're one of the few counties in the state that actually provides incentives for farmers to put in conservation practices. So, and as I said as we start, anytime there's an opportunity to buy a nice parcel of land for conservancy, we will look at that. And we've been watching several parcels, and if they become available, we will try to buy them.
Thank you. And before you answer, Rick, I want to do a translation for the Ripon folks out there. Ledge face is the Niagara Escarpment.
Yes.
And in Fond du Lac, y'all call it the ledge, but it's Niagara Escarpment for my friends in Ripon. Rick, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah. I enjoy the vast many natural resources of the state of Wisconsin. And as county executive, what I would want to do before I even make a policy statement regarding this matter is to actually do an inventory of the lands across the county. Because, as government, we have to make sure that our money, the taxpayers' money, is well represented in what the taxpayers want. So depending on the project, these types of projects, they're suitable in today's times, is that, depending on how quickly a purchase would need to be made and the monetary value, to potentially put it to referendum to the people to choose. I don't know how Fond du Lac County benchmarks regarding other counties that, in terms of natural lands like Washington County, Dodge County, and other counties that are owned by the county. It does concern me, though. I am a person that buys things off of Wisconsin surplus, and I see that, the DNR and other municipalities are constantly selling land. So, the question is, what is the right for natural? What is right? And I don't have that answer tonight to share. I can share my policies will be to do an inventory of these types of lands. I'd be one, personally, I'd say preserve. But in terms of publicly, it's really a public interest in what groups would bring in, and then to let the public and draw the public opinion into it. The use of the internet, use of survey tools is potentially an area that I would look to on this. Now, if we have very small holdings compared to others, well, then I may be interested in pursuing procurement of lands. But it's something that I need to learn and really to study and get the ear of the people on. Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, Rick, this is another long one, so here you go. Substance abuse in Fond du Lac County has increased during the pandemic. What do you propose the county do to increase prevention of substance abuse? We know that for every $1 spent on alcohol prevention alone, the county would save over $17. The costs in loss, and this is not just the county proper, this is the county in general. Mm-hmm. The costs to lost productivity in healthcare to employers in Fond du Lac County is more than $21 million annually. How can the county better provide prevention in an sustainable environmental way to the citizens and in the employers of Fond du Lac County?
Drug abuse is, it's a huge issue, the readiness and availability of street drugs. And so we have to look at where are people going to get the message? What's closest to them? Now, it's a vast opinion of many people in government that government is the answer. I'm not sure on this one. Should we form new partnerships with church groups, civic organizations? It's something that I would look to under a combined umbrella of health and human services to aid the members of that, but I would also seek input from the community, especially those nonprofits and different service agencies that are already serving this population. How can we get prevention out to them? Because so many of those folks are isolated. They turn to drugs as an escape. And so, professing another prevention program through Fond du Lac County government, I'm not sure is the answer. I would want to try to draw in people into the conversation to see where we can best meet those needs and touch base with those people that have drug issues. Some of my friends are recovering drug addicts. I don't know, I've never asked them that question. It'd be interesting to see, how could we have connected with you earlier in your life? Where would the access points would have been? So thank you for the question, Ellen.
Sure, Alan.
Yes, we continue to add staff in our Department of Community Programs to provide services, AODA counselors and other mental health professionals. We've ramped up the crisis line and the crisis program. In the jail, we have programs where we actually use Vivitrol to try to get inmates treated and off the drug before they leave the jail, and then do case management, and a follow-up. We also are continuing to look at a new program now that is coming with a grant through actually Fox Valley Workforce Development Board, where they're going to contract for services to inmates in the jail. So when they're released, they're going to be much better equipped to not be on drugs, and hopefully we'll bring down those numbers and bring down the recidivism rate. So it's a constant ramping up staff and programs and trying to get better services to people with the issues so that we can bring the numbers down. As far as prevention, I admit we probably aren't as good as we should be because we're so busy fighting the numbers that are increasing and all the fallout from those numbers that we aren't doing enough effort in the prevention areas. And I know there's organizations like Drug Free Community and others that are doing that type of thing, but right now we're busy spending our time and effort and our money, our resources in treatment and trying to get people better, off the medications and leading a more productive life.
Okay, Alan, this next question you'll begin with. Is a 25-person county board too big, and what size would be optimal?
No, 25 is not too big. We shrunk to 18, and that did not function well. And so, because we function on a committee system, and so 18, we had 5 committees. Now, we could have shrunk it to 4, but, you know, the 5 committees seem to work the best. That way you don't overwork any one committee or jurisdiction. There are some counties that have 20 committees, 15 committees. So having 5 is a small number. But in order to get the attendance that you need, and also, you know, getting the input from more people, we want 5-person committees. And so for Fond du Lac County, 25 works very well. The cost is probably minimally, you know, it's minimal, but I think it's worth it in the long run because these committees function much better with 5 members. You don't have the quorum issues that you have when you go down to 3 members of the committee. So it's the committee system that pretty well drives our number. And I think as we're going through reapportionment now, as soon as the census numbers come out, we are going to probably look at keeping the county board very similar in size, and maybe 25 again, and look at trying to get equal representation across the county by staying with the same number. And of course, we never pay attention to incumbency when we do this. It's going to be, you know, so to answer your question, no, in my opinion, 25 people on the county board is not too many, and I don't see any reason to go any higher.
Okay, Rick?
As a fan of the United States Constitution, it says, "We the people." And we the people, government should encourage government, the people of Fond du Lac County to be involved in the political process. So 25, I would encourage everyone watching tonight, if you're interested in politics, get involved and run for your county board seats. 25 is not too many. 25 represents what was established, and it's we the people of the United States. And so get involved, people, get involved. You know, if you don't like government, I'll put a plug in for government. If you don't like government, you know, what do? Do we sit around and talk about it, or do we get involved? I promote getting involved. That's why I'm running for county executive. So it doesn't matter to me if it's 10 people, 15, 25, 30, 35. You know, it's about bringing people together and trying to decide what the priority issues are through a strategic plan, and then, you know, pursue that and listen to both sides. Both sides debate things, which is good. It's healthy. It's called forming, storming, norming, and performing. So you debate things, and hopefully, if the American democratic system works right, you actually end up in a third position that neither side actually thought about. And that's what I'm about as a leader. So I've worked in large organizations. I helped form, as stated before, Moraine Lakes Economic Support Consortium. There were 5 different county directors involved, or 4 county directors and 1 county deputy director. That was me, deputy director of the Department of Social Services. We had about, I think there's about 15 supervisors in there. So I'm used to working with different size groups. So I look forward to working with the 25 members of the current county board and any newly elected next year. Thank you, Ellen.
Okay, I'm going to in your answers, another issue came to my head. So we're gonna go off book right now, but we're gonna keep the same. Alan will answer this, and then you will, and then the next question you will answer. So as you're talking about this, and I realize that the county board can be a referendum for reduction or increase, and et cetera, et cetera. However, this is a unique year. And you and the county will face specific challenges because my understanding, having worked on the census for Fond du Lac County, that the census information is going to be coming in very late this year. I'm hearing September now. And the league also has a position on this, as well as we're working on education about redistricting is a huge, in fact, it's a 50-year-old position for us. So my question is, as you're talking about this, how does the delay in the census information then affect how the county provides information to the local municipalities in drawing their ward lines and your 25 board member lines? Alan, you go first, and then Rick.
Well, definitely it's a problem. And September is okay. Talking to our land information individual who's going to develop all the plans for us, he can do this very quickly. But if we keep pushing it into October and beyond, it's going to be almost very difficult, perhaps not impossible, to get the ward lines drawn for the municipalities in time. So we're prepared as a county to get the county districts done. And, we've got people in place who've done it before. We have our reapportion committee ready to go. It's just that, we need the numbers, so there's no point in doing anything ahead of time. But again, this is going to be problematic, and I don't have a real answer other than the fact that we will commit whatever resources we need to, once the census or numbers are available, to get this done as quickly as we can so the rest of the process can be accomplished, because those ward lines are critical as well. So, and we will help the communities, do their reapportionment and create their wards, but, it's something they still have to do. My concern is we're going to rush this way through and we're not going to do as good a job as we should. And that goes all the way up into the federal districts as well, so.
Thank you, Rick.
This is an awesome question, Ellen.
Well, thank you, Rick.
And my response is this. This is an area that I am going to be completely honest and transparent. I have no information regarding, but I do know the head of the land and development person. I would work with that person. I would work with the Wisconsin Counties Association if they have a technical advisor. Hopefully, if I'm elected, Alan Biekel would do some transition planning with me, and I would get educated on this topic, and then I would work with the county board, and we would pursue it as rapidly as we possibly could, but in a quality way where it doesn't have to be redone, months later. So, good question. Thank you.
And just to clarify for the audience, when we talk about reapportionment, we're not talking just about congressional districts. We're talking about state senators, state assembly people, county board supervisors, city council supervisors, school board. It's everything. And I don't know that people realize that there is a huge impact on not having that census information, all the way from the federal level to the state level to the local level. So I thank you both for indulging me on that question. Rick, the next question will be, you will begin with. With the pandemic continuing and in flux, assess the county's public health response. What did it do right? What could it have done better? And what still needs to be done?
I'm here tonight to represent a forward. So respectfully decline what have they done right and what have they could have improved upon. What I'll say is I believe that we have an outstanding health department. We have an outstanding health director. If elected county executive, the first thing I'm going to do probably is going to be a priority is to meet with Kim Miller and ask her how she thinks we're doing. And I'm going to see in what areas she feels we need to support in and what areas that she thinks are going really well. And I'm going to develop a plan. I'm going to look across the entire county resources. I know the different county resources. And if it's staffing as they are doing these clinics or different things, I'm going to bring the different folks into the fold that are needed. If it's someone outside the government system, I'm going to reach out to them. I'll tell you overall, as people get vaccinated, the question is, some local counties, I think Dane County was one, they passed at the county level an ordinance, face mask ordinance. I'm not interested in doing any of that. I'm interested in having the public educated and that they be given the choice to choose for their family what they want to do in terms of prevention matters. What I will do is comment on myself. When April 1st started, I'm an employee. I work at the Department of Social Services. I'm the deputy director. April 1st, not prompted by anything, I started wearing my face mask to set an example for everyone. I believe that face masks are elements of prevention, and I promote them, but to mandate people and things like that. But it's about conversation and assessment with the county health director, and that's where I would start. I've been involved in pandemic planning for multiple years, and I would draw from that experience also. Thank you very much, Ellen.
Thank you. Alan?
Kimberly Miller, who is the public health officer, and I have had an outstanding relationship, and it's amazing what she has been able to accomplish. She's a mother with 3 small younger children. The youngest is 4, the oldest is 10, and she managed to get 2 weeks of vacation in last year, 2 separate weeks. But she has done an outstanding job in working with not only our county staff, but with the healthcare system throughout the county. She works with the state, and she has set priorities right along that have worked. One of the things we recognized early on, that locking everything down, our government center was never locked. Our other public buildings were never locked, because we felt that when it was time to bring people back, that'd be much more traumatic than having them in place, or much better to protect them in place. Kimberly Miller very much supported that. When the Supreme Court made their decision in May, we decided that we were not going to try to pass another ordinance, because number one, there was a question whether it was legal or not. And so what we focused on was to, try to educate people to how to protect themselves during this, because they're going to have to coexist with the virus. And unfortunately, the count right now is 100 people have passed away in Fond du Lac County as a result of the virus. So, if you use that scorecard, perhaps we failed. But the other thing is, Kimberly Miller, when we started getting the vaccine availability, one of the groups she wanted to vaccinate right away, her priority was teachers and childcare workers. And the state said, no, you're going to next go to the elderly, 65 and above. And so she had to do that, otherwise she probably wouldn't have gotten vaccine. But she is now done. They were not going to start vaccinating teachers in the state of Wisconsin until the 15th of March. We were done last week. Every teacher that wanted one, was available for a shot, got their shots. And so, that was a high priority, and now we're moving on. And she will vaccinate everybody that can be vaccinated. So,
Thank you. Alan, we're going to have you answer this question first. When the governor issued a mask mandate, Sheriff Waldschmidt said he'd tell his officers to ignore it. Shouldn't a county sheriff be expected to follow the law? In addition, the county administration would not allow businesses to be fined $200 when found in violation of the mask mandate. This could have been done through the public health department. Should the county executive be vocal in encouraging that?
encouraging using mask or
I think the person asking the question, because I'm with you on this, because I know that you cannot tell the sheriff what to do because he's the sheriff.
Right.
So I think the person asking the question wants to know if the county executive could be vocal in encouraging the sheriff to enforce the mask mandate, and as well as using fines as a preventative tool to get businesses to fall into compliance.
Well, when that decision was made by the Supreme Court, we met Kimberly Miller again, the sheriff, the DA, other police agencies. We had conversations on enforcement and whether they wanted to do that or would do that. And their concern was that they would put so many people, because once you start enforcement, there's going to be lots of complaints coming in. And so you're going to have officers diverting to go out and enforce these mask orders. And it got to the point that the sheriff just felt that was a waste of resources that could be spent elsewhere when we're chasing people not wearing masks. It was much better, in his opinion, that we try to convince people that that's what we needed to do. However, then when we talked to the district attorney, he said that even if the sheriff would make the arrest, he would not do the prosecution. So, that was the conversation that occurred. And you'll see some of that's in public record, that they stated that publicly. So as county executive, I worked with them. Was I going to shout from the rooftops that the sheriff ought to be doing this? No. Because it wasn't going to get anywhere. And some of the counties that tried to come up with ordinances to enforce the mask order, they ended up with county board meetings that had 500 people there in attendance, and it never went anywhere. And so, yeah, we didn't get very public with that. We certainly considered all of that. But, to answer the question, the county executive could have made a much louder argument on the subject, but I chose not to do that because I didn't see that was going to be productive. And you wouldn't believe the number of calls we got from people who were just threatening us for the mask orders that we had in place.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okie dokie. Rick?
The key is education, and let the people decide. I won't comment on the sheriff's comments, but I will say this as if I was elected as county executive. I'm sure that the state of Wisconsin is going to pass laws that I agree with or disagree with, and the governor may pass executive orders which I may agree or disagree with. Part of the American democracy is set up on a layer system. And so, to the civic students at Ripon College, the question is, should we, as a county executive, if I had something come from above me, should I take issue with it? There are ways to take issues with things. The court system's the appellate courts. Through the legislative system, we have our legislators. Calls to the governor's office. Me personally, again, I only speak for the office of the county executive. If there came something that personally affected the office of county executive, and I did not want to enforce it, I would lie mute. I would say nothing. Or I'd go through the channels that are established to try to reconcile. I don't get into, I believe that that's how our democracy is based upon. There's always appeal systems. Whether they're speedy or not, that's a whole other thing. So thank you, and that's my interpretation of the Constitution of the United States of America.
Okay, Rick. You're going to begin, we'll use you first for the answer on this. And this is, I did not write this question, and I realize you have no authority over this. So the question begins, if you could wave a magic wand, would you have circuit court judges be elected, as we are in an election cycle right now, or appointed as Governor Evers did in March 10th to fill Judge Wirtz's recent retirement? How do you want your judges? Elected, appointed?
I want my judges elected by the people. And the reason I want them elected by the people is they represent the people. Justice is local. Circuit judge means circuit in the old days, going from town to town. If you appoint it, then you can potentially get into folks that perhaps have a more liberal interpretation of a law or a more conservative interpretation of the law. And the people, there's 103,000 or 104,000 people in Fond du Lac County. They're not all obviously voters, but the voters get to choose. They get to choose a person that they believe is suitable to represent what they believe is justice. And so when you get into appointments with midterm changes, I understand that that's how it's done, and I respect that that's how it's done. And but then the election cycle comes, and then you get hopefully multiple candidates running against the appointed judge. So, I'm about an elected judge, not an appointed judge. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Alan?
I believe we should continue to elect our judges. I realize Governor Evers is going to have two appointments. He also appointed Tricia Walker earlier this year as well to replace Judge Sharp. But that's very, well, I shouldn't say it's not that unusual, but that's not the way it usually happens. But I agree, judges need to be elected. The only people that are being elected right now that you possibly would consider appointing are administrative jobs, such as county clerk, county treasurer. Those are highly skilled jobs. The focus, you might consider that. And I know townships are considering transitioning their clerks and treasurers to appointed to get the quality of people they need. But when it comes to even like county executive, circuit court judges, the sheriff, I believe all of those need to be elected. The people should have a voice in those kinds of critical positions that can impact their lives in so many ways. And it's also the legislative branch, I would agree there as well. We have a system that works, and electing our officials is one of the ways that our system has worked for over 200 years. And I don't see what advantage there would be to changing any of that at this point. I think it would be just flat out dangerous, because then if the governor is appointing with legislative approval, there's too much chance for abuse. I'd much rather have the people decide.
Thank you. This is going to be our last question. Alan, you'll get the first answer. What practices or policies have other Wisconsin counties adopted that Fond du Lac County could embrace?
Well, since I try to be the leader in the state, I think I have counties talking to me about what we're doing. As far as, I look at different programs that other counties are doing, but, one of the things that did come up early is combining the Department of Community Programs and Department of Social Service and the Human Service Department. I mean, most counties have that. I definitely have looked at that, and if we can make it happen, we will make it happen. But, just off the top of my head, I really don't have anything that other counties are doing that I think we should do or that, we could do better at this point. So I guess that's my answer to that question.
Okay. Rick?
The policies that I stated right at get-go, I believe there's either 3 or 4 counties that are not human services or health and human services in the state. So that's what I would pursue, as well as the Greater Wisconsin Agency on Aging has recommended that the Aging and Disability Resource Center be combined with the Older Americans Act, which in this county is senior services. And so those are 2 things that have been combined across the state in many areas. And those are 2 policies that are significant organizational changes. They're different, although we're all one county, there's different cultures. And when you merge different divisions of government, it gets back to forming, storming, norming, and performing. And, I like the operational context of those being one leader, managing the resources over those 2 areas. So those are 2 significant areas that I would pursue as county executive. Thank you.
Okay, we are ready for closing remarks. Each candidate gets a minute, and we will begin with Alan.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and Ripon College for sponsoring this event tonight. I've been county exec for 28 years because I love representing the people of this county and trying to do the right thing, improving the quality of life, improving the economy, and my records on the economy and economic development are second to none in the state of Wisconsin. Ever since we managed to keep Mercury, which I was the architect of that particular agreement, we've sort of excelled in economic development. And some of the examples are downtown Ripon. We gave this loan to the city of Ripon for $320,000 so they could pay off these taxes on the downtown properties so they could develop those. We loaned Alliance Laundry $6.5 million so they could add jobs, and they were at 1,000 jobs. They're at close to 2,000 jobs now, and they invested over $200 million. Mercury has invested over $1.3 billion. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Rick?
Thank you, League of Women Voters and Ripon College, for having me here tonight. As the Chief Executive Officer or Fond du Lac County Executive, my goal is to provide services to children from birth to folks that are in their senior setting years. I have a proven track record working for the Department of Social Services of changing programs, managing things differently. I'd like to pursue lean management in this county, bring different folks together in a collaborative fashion to build a better Fond du Lac County service delivery. In closing, I want to say thank you. I want to thank all the people in Ripon area. I worked here in 91 to 93 for a place called Cisco Grocery Marketing. I have fond memories of the folks here. I have fond memories in your city. I enjoyed the people here. The goal was to take from the field to restaurants the great, wonderful agricultural products that are grown by the farmers in these area communities. So I want to thank you, and thank you for being awesome people.
Thank you both for being here tonight. For our audience watching, I want to remind you that Election Day is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. Early and absentee voting begins next Tuesday on March 23rd. For more information on the local League of Women Voters of the Ripon area, please visit our Facebook page. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Thank you.